Oh, and that's a brilliant effort. And they've turned it right around. In the space of a few minutes, Saudi Arabia grab control of the game.
Welcome to a new episode of Dawri, the Saudi football podcast by Arab News, where we look at all the latest results and developments in our beloved Saudi Pro League and the game in general across the kingdom. With me today, as always, is Arab News sports editor Ali Khaled, as we look back on all the action from last week and look forward to arguably the match of the season so far. Yes, the Riyadh Derby is upon us. Leaders Al-Hilal and second place Al-Nassr. What a mouth-watering prospect. Again, our man in the capital, Khaled Alarafah, has been keeping an eye on both teams, and we'll get to him very soon. But Ali, what were your highlights from last week?
Hi, Pete. Good to be back. Well, we'll start with the champions, Al-Ittihad. They've played 3 times since our last show, actually, and things are starting to look better for them with the new Argentine coach Marcelo Gallardo. They drew 1-1 with Steven Gerrard's Ittifaq last week. Followed that up. Yep, the draw specialist Ittifaq. A 2-1 win in the AFC Champions League against AGMK of Uzbekistan, and a win over Al-Khalij on Thursday. A 4-2 win over Al-Khalij on Thursday. So Ittihad now are 10 points behind Hilal and 6 behind Al-Nassr, although that will obviously change after the derby. Al-Ahli remained 4th after a 0-0 draw with Shabab and a 6-0 thrashing of Abha. And meanwhile, Al-Ta'awan dropped to 5th after a surprise 2-1 home loss to Riyadh last week. But it's all about the big two, Pete. We spoke to Khaled earlier, who has been keeping an eye on them all week.
Hi Ali, hi Peter, how are you guys? So the last round was really interesting. Probably the most interesting part was Cristiano's Ronaldo goal for Al-Nassr against Al-Ittihad. He scored one of the best goals so far. And Al-Hilal beating Al-Hazm 9-0. Like, this is one of the highest scores so far. And then I'm going to focus on Al-Hilal and Al-Nassr as well. The two teams qualified for the next round of the Asian Champions League. Al-Nassr draw against Persepolis, the Iranian team, but that brought him first in the group. And Al-Hilal as well won against Nabahor in Uzbekistan 2-0, and Al-Hilal came first in the group. So the two teams qualified for the next round. Why am I saying all these things? Because on the 1st of December, Ali, everybody is just waiting to watch one of the best derbies. It's gonna bring those two teams together. Not because I'm talking about Al-Hilal and Nassr, not because I'm saying that it's the first team and the first team in the league and the second team in the league. No, I'm talking about the names that they're going to be involved in this match. I'm talking about Ronaldo, Mitrovic, Savic, Neves, Mane, Talisca. All these names are going to give us a really strong match. This match is going to be covered for around 37 TV channels in all 5 continents. So we are waiting to see this match. I'm going to be covering that match, Ali. I'm sure that the next episode I'll be giving you some stories about that match. Until then, back to you, Ali.
There were also some decisive AFC Champions League fixtures in midweek for the Saudi clubs, AK.
Yes, Hilal, Nassr, Ittihad all progress as expected to the round of 16. 10-man Nassr drew 0-0 with the Persepolis of Iran to win Group E, while Hilal beat Nabahor of Uzbekistan 2-0, as Khaled mentioned, to win Group D. Faiha, I know you've got some good contacts there, Pete. Faiha kept their hopes of progressing from Group A alive going into the last match day after beating Ahal of Turkmenistan. So all 4 Saudi teams could progress. Although Ahal, it's touch and go for Faiha, I should say. It's touch and go going into the last match. But it was the second win of the group stage. So now they've got 6 points in Group A. So, could still happen for them. Ittihad, as we mentioned, beat AJMK to top Group C with 12 points, 2 ahead Sepahan of Iran. Honestly, when you look at the big three Saudi the teams, it's really hard to look beyond those three in the AFC Western zone. They are the teams to beat. I mean, they do look like they're slightly too strong for the rest of the teams in the Western zone, should we say?
I'd agree with that summation, Ali. Listen, it's time to welcome our special guest who landed in Jeddah earlier in the week. It's the one and only John Duerden. John, welcome back to the show.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Very well, thanks, John. Good to see you again. So, John, you're in Jeddah. You were supposed to go to the Ittihad Al-Hilal match, but tell us what happened.
Well, yes, there's so much going on in Jeddah. I mean, sports-wise this week, they moved the game to quite a way out of the city. But there's been lots of other stuff going on. But I did watch the game on TV, and it's surprising how hot it is at the moment down here, that the players could still work around as much as they did, and a good win for the home team, even though they weren't really at home. Right,
yeah. So, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Ittihad. I mean, we'll get to the big match later, but just to stick with Ittihad for a bit. How do you see the early days with Marcelo Gallardo? I mean, it's been a steady start, nothing too spectacular, I think, although obviously a scoring game on Thursday. How do you see the start, and how do you see the players in the early days adapting to him, to his methods?
Well, I think so far so good. I mean, he's a coach who is known for kind of high pressing game, and I haven't seen too much of that yet. Maybe because of it's going to take time, and also with the high temperatures at the moment. I think I would hope he's got a very different style to Santo. I mean, his predecessor. So it's going to take time, I think, for that to feed through. At the moment, they've got enough good players. I mean, last night before he went off, I was very impressive and made a lot of things happen. But he went off injured just after he scored his penalty. And I think that's a bit of a concern, given that it's only, 10 days before Ittihad started the FIFA Club World Cup. But even without him, they have lots of great offensive players. So it's got enough to most teams, while hopefully implements his style of play. But I think that is going to take some time.
Yeah, I mean, we do know that if their front line of Benzema and Hamdallah hit form, we were expecting that earlier in the season. They were still one of our favorites for the title. That hasn't really worked out like that. Do you see those two at least coming back slightly into form?
Yeah, because I mean that's one of my favourite players, because he's a striker who puts balls in the net, and I think at any level, if you've got one of those, then you're always going to do okay. I mean, on the new last season, this was a team that was very solid at the back. I also had such attacking talent, and this season defensively they've been much more open. But they're lucky in the fact that you have someone like Benzema, but even when he's out, the attacking talent like Hamdallah, I mean, he will walk into most league teams, and because he guarantees goals.
How have you seen Fabinho's contribution to the team so far?
Yeah, very good. And last night it was impressive, especially in the first half, getting forward a bit more. Again, I think Kante wasn't there, and I think they haven't quite managed to put forward yet and maybe build up that relationship and partnership in the middle. But he's a player, a very intelligent player, and he came close to a goal on one or two occasions. I think if he can get on the score sheet a bit more, then he can make a real difference to the team. But you can see maybe is the kind of player that Gallardo will be big fan of.
Do you see their chances? And I mean, obviously, we know the structure of the FIFA Club World Cup. Obviously, the European teams are heavily favoured, as they always are. But how do you see Ittihad performing on home ground?
It's going to be really interesting. And I hope Benzema's fit. I mean, of course, they should get through the first game against the Oceanic champions, and then anything can happen with the Hilal. I mean, there's no reason for any Saudi team to fear the African champions, South American champions, and then, of course, as you say, it's heavily geared towards the European teams. But I think success would be to play Man City and to get a sense of where Ittihad might be. Home, I think being in Jeddah, I mean, you can see people driving around with Ittihad scarves and flags in the cars, and there's a real passion for the team. It'll be fascinating to see. You got big crowds. I think they can do really well. Maybe expectations might be, the players, but now they've got big players, so it shouldn't. Once they get to the knockout stage proper, they can give any team a game. I think the target should be to get to the final, and that's what they want. I mean, that's what Hilal did last season.
All right, fantastic. John, we have to move on to the big match, the Riyadh Derby. I mean, it's easily the best, the most highly anticipated game of the season and the biggest game of the season. So they are those two teams clearly are the two best teams in Saudi and possibly Asia at the moment. How do you see? Do you see that? Maybe a little bit of a gap is starting to develop between those two and the rest of the league.
Yeah, and it's because they both keep winning. It's amazing. They're relentless winning machines, and when that happens, the other teams can't quite keep up. I mean, that's why I think Hilal fans might maybe not agree, but it's best for the league if they certainly don't win. We don't really want Hilal to go 7 points clear at this stage of the season, even though it'll be far from over. But yeah. Yes, you can see it's amazing after the first few games of the season when Al-Nassr lost and there's real concern around the team. They've just been fantastic since then. And Hilal, again, keep going and don't lose, almost always win. So again, it's the old cliche, what happens when on such an immovable object. And tonight we're going to find out. And but I saw it's a good game. It's a shame that Neymar's injured because I think that would be kind of give it real. There's a global audience for these games now, but so Neymar versus Ronaldo, first versus second, would have been something special. But even so,
John, you're on your way to Riyadh shortly for that match. Are you looking forward to experiencing the atmosphere? We've had some really great atmospheres in the league this year and every year actually. But are you looking forward to experiencing sort of this new Saudi league with all these stars coming in the summer? Are you expecting it to be a little bit different now?
Well, it's going to be interesting because I think this Riyadh Derby has always been a big game. History is there, and it's always been a massive event. So it will be interesting to see how different it is, or is it different at all? Because already what is one of Asia's biggest matches, but I think now, there is that more international aspect to it. I think it will be very interesting to see what the atmosphere is like inside and outside the stadium. Of course, Ronaldo is going to be there, hopefully. He did have a bit of an injury in the Champions League. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a huge sellout crowd, massive game. And what the good thing is, we see around the world when you get these, often they're a disappointment on the field. But so far this season, the big matches have been fantastic entertainment in the Saudi League. And hopefully tonight, it will be something similar, but whatever happens, it's going to be a great event, and I think the atmosphere in itself will be worth watching. I just can't wait to see it.
Obviously we've spoken a lot about Cristiano, John. What he's done for the league, what he's done for Al-Nassr, his continued excellence. And I've personally gone on and on about Talisca this season, who's one of my favorite players and has been brilliant, and as Mane. But let's talk a little bit about Al-Nassr. They. In particular, Mitrovic, who's just a scoring machine at the moment. And also, let's give the Saudi guys, Salim Al-Dosari and Saleh Al-Shahri, the two Saudi heroes, their dues as well.
Yeah, and that's why it's exciting too, because you've got players, it's not only the international star who can make things happen. When you get Nassr and Hilal together, things like Abdul Hamid for Hilal, I think has been one of the best players of anybody this season. And Al-Dosari has been really in the past few weeks. Again, he's had injury issues from time to time. Has been coming on more and more. So I think from both, when you look at the not only the 22 players who start, but the entire squad. So many exciting players that can make a real difference. You can definitely see Mitrovic getting a couple of goals. You can certainly see Ronaldo getting a hat trick. So it really anything could happen. And also things like Ruben Neves. I think it's been talked about quite a lot at the moment. I think it's a good time for him, to really take centre stage and show. Look, why do I need to go to the English Premier League? And because it's a massive crowd surrounded by fantastic players and a top of the table clash right here, and it's a fantastic experience. Yeah,
like I said, and you just mentioned it there. it is good to see some of the Saudi players stepping forward. I know we mentioned a lot that the Saudi forwards don't get as many opportunities these days with so many players. But with Saleh Al-Shahri, he's not first choice, but he seems to be grabbing his opportunities when they are presented. He played very well for Saudi. We've already mentioned, and we've I'm really looking forward. Hopefully, he gets it's a bit of an opportunity. Salim Al-Dawsari will certainly play, but it'll be great to see Saleh Al-Shahri having hit that hot streak of goal scoring form. It'll be great if he gets an opportunity alongside Ronaldo, Talisca, Mane, and obviously Mitrovic, Salim Al-Dawsari, and the rest of them. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on.
Yeah, because it'll be a great case if he does. Have a player playing himself into his club team because of his national team exploits, and I think that doesn't happen very often. But he showed, he scored 4 goals in 2 games, well taken goals as well, and he's also scored since then for Hilal as a late sub. So yes, I think it's good for the Saudi Arabia national team if he can play as many games as possible for Hilal. It's unfortunate that because don't get as many minutes as maybe they should. But last night we saw Faisal Barakan scored a couple of goals again for Al-Hilal. So gauntlet's been thrown down in national team terms back towards Al-Shahri, and hopefully I should get some minutes on the pitch, but it'd be great to see him start and getting a great form lately.
Brilliant stuff. Listen, John, you mentioned gauntlet's been thrown down. I've got one here in the Arab News Towers head office for you. Take this gauntlet. Who wins the derby?
Well, I think I'm going to go for Al-Nassr. I think it's going to be 3-2. In a way, I think that'll be a perfect result for everybody, except for Hilal, but good for the league as well. Just the form they're in, and Ronaldo's just unstoppable at the moment. And yes, I think Ali mentioned Talisca has been great. Sadio Mane has been rested, but I think he's getting better and better. So yeah, I think a 3-2 win for Nassr.
Absolutely.
And I was exactly right. We said 3-1, didn't we? When last time I predicted, I can't remember what game it was. Yes. I thought, why didn't I bet on that? But yeah, so
great stuff.
Last this time.
The winner by the odd goal in 5, one more than myself because I sit on the fence as the host. Anyway, we'll get to that later when I speak to Ali about his predictions. Great, John, to have you with us, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks very much. My pleasure. Cheers, guys.
Okay, Ali, always good to see John. Listen, what can we look forward to this weekend, apart from the obvious?
Okay, so Al-Shabaab are hosting Al-Ta'awun, which should be quite interesting. Because we've been keeping an eye on Al-Ta'awun, who really, again, as we keep saying, is one of the stories of the season. Their form has, sort of tailed off a little bit in recent weeks. But they're still up there, in 5th place now. So that should be an interesting match. And obviously, we'll see if Ittihad can end the run of 3 draws when they play Al-Ukhdud as well. But really, it's all about the Riyadh Derby. Everything else is a sideshow, Peter. It's first against second, the 2 informed teams in Saudi, if not Asia. We've got Ronaldo and Alexander Mitrovic, top of the scoring charts, first and second. And you got a great supporting cast. It includes Mane and Talisca for Al-Nassr, Al-Dawsari and Al-Shahri for Hilal. It's great to see 2 Saudi players, right up there in terms of form. Al-Shahri recently was the hero for Saudi Arabia in the international break. Saleh Al-Shahri, he scored 4 goals in the two World Cup qualifiers. We always talk about some of the Saudi players, some of the Saudi forwards not getting their opportunities up front. But he might not be first choice still, but he is taking his opportunities whenever they are given to him, and he's performing really well for club and country. Last week, Al-Hilal won 9-0, and he scored again in that one, obviously, and he had scored twice in both matches for Saudi Arabia, shall we say, 4 goals in total. So, look, everything is set, it is the match of the season so far. The 2 teams have been in brilliant form. Al-Nassr, after that, started the season with 2 defeats, have just been absolutely incredible. Cristiano Ronaldo is flying. He's, I always say, the guy, talks the talk and he walks the walk. I mean, he really is just an incredible footballer. And I know you're a big fan of Mitrovic, Pete. Used to play for Newcastle, of course. And yeah, he's just continues to score as well. So can't wait for this one. Should be a great match.
A couple of things before I press you, Ali, on my favourite part of the show, which is where I put you in the pressure cooker of predictions. But just before that, you just said something. The cast, the supporting cast. It's very rare in any league in the world, but we do have it in our Saudi Pro League currently, that all of these guys are at the top of their game. Presently, they're all in a rich vein of form.
Absolutely. I mean, that's I have to say, we have mentioned it in a few earlier episodes, that a lot of the players have delivered. A lot of these, foreign players that have joined have really delivered. Not all. I mean, so there's been a few others who have obviously Neymar at Hilal has been injured, really. So, that one hasn't really worked out. But at Al-Hilal as well, we haven't mentioned Milinkovic-Savic, who's been great. Malcolm has chipped in with a few goals as well. And earlier we mentioned Ittihad as well. So we've got we've been saying they've been very disappointing. But they've Benzema and and Fabinho and Hamdallah, Abdurazak Hamdallah. Everybody. Yeah, everybody stepping up, so it's great to see, I mean, in the past, there was always this skepticism that players that come to this part of the world, whether it's the Saudi League or the UAE League, are maybe at the end of their careers, maybe not at the top of their games, but that's not the case at the moment. They're all performing to a really high level.
And a special mention for me goes to Cristiano Ronaldo. Always a lot of press. We know he's at the top of the game. We know he's scoring goals from 40 yards out. We know he still continues to defy logic. How good was it to see him say to the referee, "That's not a penalty, by the way"? I have to admire him for that. He ran, and although there was VAR, that didn't matter. He knew he'd gone down. It wasn't. It was just an unfortunate incident, and I have to say, fair play to him for that.
No, absolutely. Look, I mean, he's honestly, he has been a breath of fresh air to the Saudi League. He's changed everything. From the moment he moved to Riyadh, he's blown away all the skepticism. He's really embraced his life there. He's absolutely, one of the greatest professionals. We know he's one of the greatest players, but he's just one of the greatest professionals. Players, in Saudi talk about how he has just raised the standards there. He makes everybody wants to be better. He raises everybody around him. He's the first one in the training. He's the last one to leave. And that incident you just mentioned again, just adds to the admiration that everyone has for him.
Absolutely. Okay, the most important part of the show every week is to put Ali Khaled, the sports editor of Arab News, on the spot. Give me a prediction.
This is the toughest one, Pete. Like I said, both are just on such good form. You can see there's so many match winners in both teams. Again, the obvious one for Al-Nassr is Cristiano. But look, Al-Hilal at home, I'm going to have to, I very, very rarely go against Al-Hilal. They are just a winning machine, and they, whenever questions are asked of them, they tend to come through. I'm going to go for Al-Hilal 2, Al-Nassr 1.
Absolutely brilliant. As presenter, it's my prerogative to sit on the fence, so I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. Goals galore and plenty of entertainment for the fans. Okay, listen, that's it for another episode of Dawri, and we'll see you next week. As always, whoever your team is, may they have a great weekend of sport.